A magical aspect of Downton Abbey is just how convincingly it manages to transport you into history. The setup, the dialogue, and the acting all come together to produce a show that works to make you forget about modern-day theatrics and focus on the characters on screen. But how much do you actually know about the making of Downton Abbey? Here are 8 fascinating facts about Downton Abbey that you probably didn't know. First, is Downton Abbey a real place? Downton Abbey spec. According to The World of Downton Abbey, a book written by Jessica Fellows that gives fans an insight into the show's shooting processes, she recounted that a single episode of Downton Abbey costs approximately $1 million to produce. And then we have on-screen couples. It's a very fun Easter egg for fans to spot when they see 2 actors play a couple on screen more than once. Luckily for Downton Abbey fans, this fairly rare occurrence managed to take place twice, and with 2 very significant couples on the show. Did you know that Hugh Bonneville, who plays the Earl of Grantham, Robert Crowley, was involved in more than 12? Another on-screen married couple from Downton Abbey to have played lovers is Michelle Dockery and Dan Stevens. Mary Crawley and Matthew Crawley co-starred as partners in an adaptation of The Turning of the Screw. Next, off-screen couples. On the subject of on-screen couples, let's talk about the pair that met on the set of Downton Abbey and have been together ever since. And hold on tight, cause it's a very unlikely pair. Laura Carmichael, who plays Lady Edith Crawley, an aristocrat, met Michael C. Fox, who played Andy, a servant in the later seasons of the show, and fell in love on the set of the show. Fox welcomed their first child, a son, just last year in 2021. Now the realistic elements. While most of the show's story about these aristocrats is fabricated, along with its characters, one character in particular isn't. That's not to say that no real-life inspiration was taken when constructing the many personalities of Downton Abbey by creator Julian Fellows, but a real baroness in particular inspired Cora's character. Cora's character is often overlooked as a significant one, but more often than not, she acts as the glue that holds the turbulent Crawley family together and a bridge between the servants and the aristocrats. Lady Curzon, also known as Mary Leader in historical catalogs, was an American heiress who married George Curzon, a British aristocrat in financial trouble. Sound familiar? Cora's kindness and subversion of what's expected as lady of her time often help the show not get too lost in its uppityness. Up next, borrowed from the past. A huge aspect of the show's appeal lies in its fairly accurate historical costuming. Downton Abbey has employed many historical garment reconstructions to fulfill a scene's requirement and provide the viewer with an incomparable, immersive experience. The fashion of the early 20th century is glamorous to the highest degree, and to really set the tone, sometimes costume designers would literally borrow garments from the past to fulfill a scene's needs. In the behind-the-scenes companion book known as The World of Downton Abbey, Susanna Buxton revealed that some of the most beautiful and memorable looks on the show are made from real vintage pieces. From Mary's evening gowns from the first season to the servants' dresses. A lot of the pieces on the show are pieces from the past. Another detail that has resulted as a consequence of this is perhaps not as pleasant. Actress Sophie McShera, who plays Daisy in the show, admitted that the costumes smell bad when they're worn since they're not allowed to be washed for preservation reasons. So the next time you sit down to watch the show, try not to imagine the smell wafting off of those historically accurate costumes. And then there's set changes. If you're a particularly enthusiastic fan or just very clever, you may have noticed a set detail that many seem to miss. And it's fascinating how flawlessly the show managed to cover up this inadequacy. The upstairs people, that is the aristocrats, somehow had to make do with one room to film in. Although it's nearly impossible to notice, Lord and Lady Grantham, Lady Edith, and Lady Mary all share a single set that would be configured different ways over the course of filming to suit the director's needs. This, of course, was a complex process, but the show seems to have managed to pull it off almost flawlessly. If you are, however, curious to catch it on your own, you may be able to notice that all of their windows have the exact same view, just different decor around them. Now, in other news, the new Downton Abbey movie. If you've been living under a rock for the past few months, you may have missed the overwhelmingly well-received announcement that Downton Abbey 22 in Leicester Square in London. Titled Downton Abbey: A New Era, we could only imagine what kind of trouble the residents of Downton Abbey managed to bring up upon themselves. themselves this time. Now some answered questions. The last time we saw the Crawleys and the Abbey staff was a good few years ago when multiple crucial details were revealed in the last Downton Abbey movie. We found out that Violet Crawley, also known as the Dowager Countess, was fatally ill. We also found out that due to the quick pace of industrialization and modernization, it was nearly impossible for Mary to keep the Abbey running when all other lords had submitted. But she chose to keep the true spirit of the Abbey alive. And that next, Thomas's sexuality. Another thing that the movie did was explore Thomas Barrow's sexuality by introducing him to a life outside the Abbey where he could find fulfillment. In Downton Abbey: A New Era, Thomas Barrow, a fan favorite character, was finally allowed a happy ending with Guy Dexter. The two find happiness by the end of the movie, which was what a lot of people wanted for his character. Throughout the years Thomas spent at the Abbey, viewers got to see him turn from a mustache-twirling villain to someone they could genuinely root for. His happiness ultimately gave the fandom a well-deserved win. And that's all for this video. What do you think about these fascinating facts? Let us know your favorite down in the comments below. If you enjoyed watching the video, be sure to leave a like and share the video. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications by pressing the bell icon to get notified every time we post a new video. And we'll see you next time.